right. Hey, everyone. Ready for another deep dive? Today, we're tackling something I think a lot of us are curious about. What women find attractive in men.
Oh, yeah, this is a good one.
But, we're not going down the typical road of looks or money.
Right.
Instead, we're going deep on confidence. We're talking about the subtle things that can really spark attraction.
Definitely.
You sent us this really interesting piece called Four Things Women Love That Confident Men Do.
Yeah.
And we thought it would be fun to kind of break it down.
I think there are going to be some really good insights in this one.
Yeah, totally. Now, just to be clear, we're not saying this article is the ultimate guide to attraction or anything.
Of course.
It's just that it raises some really fascinating points, and that's what we're here to explore.
Exactly. It's all about exploring these different ideas.
Right. So let's start with the first point, eye contact.
Okay, eye contact.
The article really emphasizes that it's not just about looking at someone, it's about presence.
That's so true.
You know, that magnetic pull that confident people have. They even have this 3-second rule
Oh, interesting.
where you hold her gaze for 3 seconds, then break away naturally to create this, relaxed vibe.
3 seconds. That's a good benchmark.
I know, right? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's definitely something powerful about eye contact. There was this study where they asked couples to gaze into each other's eyes for a while,
Really?
and afterwards, they reported feeling more love. It's crazy how such a small thing can have such a big impact.
That's amazing. I think I've heard about that study.
It is, right.
But honestly, I've always wondered about that line between, confident eye contact and just staring someone down,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Where's the balance?
That's a great question. I think, eye contact is kind of like a spice. A little bit can be great, but too much can be overwhelming.
That's a great analogy.
And what's considered appropriate can be different depending on the culture. So being aware of that is important. The key is to show genuine interest, without making the other person feel uncomfortable.
So it's all about reading the situation and the other person's cues.
Exactly. If someone starts fidgeting or looking away, maybe it's time to ease up a little.
That makes sense.
It's a two-way street. You got to pay attention to their body language.
Right. Okay, so moving on to the next point, which is humor and playfulness.
Okay, yeah, humor.
The article says women are drawn to men who can make them laugh.
Well, who doesn't love to laugh?
I know, right? And it makes sense. It breaks down walls, shows confidence.
It definitely lightens the mood.
And get this, they actually suggest playfully teasing a woman about her cooking skills as an example.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Kind of a bold move, don't you think?
Yeah, you got to be careful with that one.
Exactly. So, what are your thoughts on humor in attraction?
Well, there's no doubt that humor can be a really powerful tool for building connections. When we laugh, our brains release endorphins,
Right.
which makes us feel good, and it creates this sense of shared joy and connection.
That makes sense. But isn't there a risk of crossing the line with humor,
Absolutely there is.
What one person finds funny, another might find offensive.
Yeah, you got to be mindful of that.
Especially with something as personal as someone's cooking.
Exactly. It all comes down to understanding different types of humor, being sensitive to cultural differences, and most importantly, reading the room.
Yeah, don't just start cracking jokes without considering the context.
Right. The goal is to create a fun and comfortable atmosphere for everyone.
Okay, I like that. All right, ready for a point that might seem a bit counterintuitive?
Hit me with it.
The power of no.
No. Okay, I'm intrigued.
Right. The article claims that women are actually more attracted to men who know how to say no.
That's interesting.
Because it shows self-respect, strong boundaries.
That's a good point.
It's saying, hey, I value myself enough to prioritize my needs, and I'm not just going to be a pushover.
It's like you're not afraid to stand up for what you believe in.
Exactly. And the article even suggests that women find that people-pleasing behavior unattractive
I could see that.
because it can signal a lack of confidence or self-worth.
Right. It's like you're not fully comfortable with yourself.
And, from an evolutionary standpoint, assertiveness can be seen as a sign of good leadership qualities.
Oh, interesting. How so?
It shows you can make tough decisions, protect yourself and others,
That makes sense.
which can be subconsciously attractive,
Yeah, I guess.
So it's not about being a jerk or saying no to everything. It's about knowing your limits,
Right, finding that balance.
setting those healthy boundaries and being able to communicate them.
I think that's key in any relationship, really.
Absolutely. And this goes beyond romantic relationships. It's important in all areas of life.
For sure. Work, friendships, family, you name it.
So I think we've unpacked the power of no pretty well.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Ready to move on to the final point.
Absolutely, let's do it.
Mm.
Okay, so this last point in the article about taking initiative, I think it's super important.
Yeah, taking initiative, it kind of ties everything together, doesn't it?
It does, it really does. It's like confidence in action.
Exactly. And the article frames it as a sign of confidence and leadership, right?
Absolutely. Think about it. Taking that first step, like suggesting a date idea.
Right, like that art exhibit we were talking about earlier.
Exactly. Or even just, starting a conversation at a party.
Yeah,
It shows you're not afraid to go after what you want.
it's like you're putting yourself out there.
Yeah. You're showing a level of self-assurance that can be really attractive.
You know, I used to be so scared to take initiative. I was always worried about rejection.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel that way.
But then I realized it was the fear that was holding me back.
That's such a common thing. Fear can really paralyze us.
And once I started focusing on just expressing my interest authentically, the fear started to fade.
That's a huge step. Being genuine is so important.
And you know what's funny? Even if someone doesn't respond the way I'd hoped, taking initiative still makes me feel more confident.
That's the best part. It's not just about the outcome, it's about the process.
Exactly. So it's like win-win, right?
Yeah, exactly. You're building that confidence muscle either way.
I like that. And the article also talks about taking initiative physically, like going for the kiss if the moment feels right.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that can definitely be a way to set the tone early on.
It's like reading the situation, trusting your instincts.
Right, it's not about being aggressive, it's about being in tune with the other person.
Okay, so for someone listening who's thinking, all right, this all sounds good, but how do I actually start taking more initiative? What advice would you give them?
Start small. It doesn't have to be anything major. Maybe you suggest where to go for dinner with friends, or you volunteer to lead a project at work.
Those are good examples.
It's about getting comfortable taking action, even in small ways.
You don't have to go from 0 to 100 right away.
Right. It's about building that momentum over time.
And as you take more initiative in different areas of your life, I think that confidence naturally carries over into your interactions with women, too.
Absolutely. It becomes this positive cycle.
Okay, so we've covered all 4 points from the article. Eye contact, humor, saying no, and taking initiative.
We did it.
And what stands out to me is how they all really come back to self-assurance.
That's it. That's the core of it all.
It's not about tricks or techniques, it's about genuine confidence.
And that's what I think is so valuable about this article. It's not about putting on an act. It's about being authentically you.
It's like that inner confidence just shines through.
Exactly. And the great thing is, confidence is something you can develop.
So even if someone listening doesn't feel super confident right now, they can work on it.
Absolutely. It's a journey, not a destination.
I love that. So how do we take all these insights and make them practical for our listener? Like, what can they do to cultivate that inner confidence?
Yeah, that's the big question, right? It's like we have all the pieces, but how do we put them together?
It's like we've got the recipe, but we need to help our listener actually cook the dish.
Exactly.
So where do we start? Confidence can feel like this big abstract thing.
I think a good place to begin is with self-reflection.
Okay, self-reflection.
Take some time to really think about what you're good at, what you're passionate about.
What makes you, you?
Yeah. It's easy to get caught up comparing ourselves to others, focusing on what we think are our flaws.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But when we shift our focus inward and recognize our unique qualities.
Yeah, that's when confidence starts to grow.
Exactly. And it's not about being perfect.
No, not at all.
It's about embracing those imperfections, seeing them as part of what makes you special.
So as cheesy as it sounds, it's about loving yourself.
It really is. Because when you truly love and accept yourself, it shows.
It changes how you carry yourself, how you interact with others.
And that's what makes you attractive.
Okay, so for our listener who's ready to work on their confidence, what are some practical steps they can take?
Well, like we said, self-reflection is key. But also, try to identify what's holding you back.
Like, what are those limiting beliefs?
Yeah, is it fear of rejection? Lack of self-belief? Once you figure that out, you can start to challenge those thoughts.
That can make a huge difference, right?
It can. It's like removing those mental roadblocks.
So connecting back to the article, maybe it's about practicing holding eye contact a bit longer,
Yeah.
or adding more humor to your conversations, setting those boundaries.
Or taking the initiative to try something new. even if it's a little scary.
I like that. It's about taking those small steps consistently.
Exactly. And remember, confidence isn't a destination, it's a journey.
There will be ups and downs, moments of doubt.
That's all part of the process.
And the more you invest in yourself, the more confident you'll become.
And that confidence will naturally draw people to you.
This has been such a great conversation. So, to sum it up, forget about the superficial stuff.
All right, forget all that.
Focus on building that genuine self-assurance.
And let that confidence shine through.
That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.